Thank you everyone for joining us for a special edition. This is the special feature brought to you by Utopia News. Your reporter and host, Wind. We're talking about age 95 proposed changes. This is something SAP's FFW had actively wanted to talk about. I think he's playing quite a large hand in the changes that are upcoming. So we've got several people actually from the community here and a bunch of people listening in live on the Muga cast live chat, where we hope to have a good discussion about the proposed changes for age 95. We're working on still trying to get as many people as we can into the actual voice channel. There we go. I think I can actually request people to speak here. Okay, yeah. So I can send requests, but they still need to accept them as well. All right, there's FFW. Perfect. All right, invite sent for that. All right, I'm going to move us over here on the broadcast screen just so we can see what's going on in the Discord channel here. Wicked. All right, FFW now, just so you guys are aware, you're all muted right now. Anyone else who'd like to join the chat? Hong, I sent you an invite. However, there should be an option to accept the invite so that you can speak. More importantly, though, we're basically here to talk about the changes for anyone who's missed the first part of the broadcast. I'm going to do my best in the meantime to get the changes open in a window, actually, because I was so busy setting everything up that I didn't actually get that ready. But thanks to FFW for posting that in the announcements section. Or rather, it was in the news section, but was posted to announcements. Anyone who's following the announcements, always a good thing to do. Lots of important stuff always comes through from myself as well as, of course, Muga. So be sure to check out the announcements and follow that. Hong, whenever you get a chance, see if you can get in here so you can chat with us. Welcome everyone who's joined so far. Again, this is broadcasting live on YouTube right now. So we're going to talk about age 95 changes. FFW, are you there? What can you tell us about these changes that we have so far? If you can figure out how to unmute yourself.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah, I got you.
Alright, we took a rather interesting approach this age. We are separating True Blood and Half Blood significantly, with True Blood getting extremely good bonuses for each race to specialize in what they do best. Half-Blood bonuses, however, will remain as a customization touch for players to personalize their race choice, such as you can be an orc but also a half-blood elf, which gives you the traditional orc mystic type of scenario, where in previous ages you can't do that because you don't have the requisite bonuses. Alongside that, we are also making some mechanical changes to favor aggressors over defenders. This is the age changes direction for this age.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, I definitely liked what I saw in the last version of Genesis. It seemed far too easy to get a war. I'm pretty sure I just attacked someone 3 times, they attacked me 3 times, and all of a sudden we were in war. So anything that makes a favor or favors aggressors, that sounds good to me. Especially for those kingdoms that may not be as driven to necessarily take war crowns, but that's neither here nor there. As I said, anyone who wants to participate, be sure to raise your hand so you can speak. I can invite you to speak, but there's still something that you have to accept, and just remember you're all muted, so just be aware of that. Now, when it comes to the mechanical changes here, Persian actually posted them. It looks like some good stuff is definitely going on. As FFW said, they're trying to make it a little bit more personalized. There are a lot of interesting changes here, though. I mean, benediction was removed. I don't know, not too many kingdoms are using benediction anyway. Learn attacks will no longer benefit from minus 12.5 attack time. and has a gains cap of 10% total books. Well, that's interesting. Same with plunder. Oh, interesting. So all of the learn, plunder, and massacre attacks are losing their benefit of the reduced attack time. That would definitely change some things around, I think, because it's really easy to take advantage of those mechanics when you have speedier armies. You got anything to say about those changes, FFW or Benji?
Yeah, Benji can go first. Is his mic working though?
Yeah, that's the real question. I haven't heard him say anything yet, so it's possible he might not actually be connecting properly. Also, just remember to check out your sound settings when you are in Discord. When it does update, sometimes there's a habit to set you back to a default, which is supposed to just be whatever's default to the device that you're on. But sometimes, I don't know, with other devices that can cause issues. So maybe Benji's just having some trouble connecting here. But in the meantime, let's see. I'll just go through the general changes here. In the meantime, while Benji tries to figure out what's going on. So one of the nice things I've got to say is this was produced really early, and I spoke to SAPS FFW about this in our other Muga newsroom. And actually, the finals are coming out on a very nice timeline, which should actually give kingdoms a lot more time to decide what they want to do, especially the more casual kingdoms. I mean, even for myself, when changes come out and you're forced to make a decision by Monday night or Monday afternoon, usually the worst working day of the week, it's not something you want to necessarily rush and do, but I mean, you don't have much choice because the changes come out so late usually. But I think everyone's going to really like this age as long as we actually stick to that timeline. I think it'll be good. But anyway, enough of that. Let's check out the general changes here. Primary race now decides. I'm actually flip this over just so we can see on the screen as well. Here we go. No, that's not the one. No, it's not that one. Oh, that's not good. Okay. It seems like I've lost that Chrome page. Alright, well at least there's the Discord. Okay, I'm going to try and add another window so we can see this. Okay. There we go. Alright, let's make this a little bit smaller. This way we can follow along with what I'm saying here for anyone who's watching the YouTube stream. And then I'll zoom
When
out.
Benji's back.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for letting me know. Perfect. Yeah, sorry guys, I was just off on the other screen there. Hey Benji, what's going on? Can you hear us now, or can you speak now, or?
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. Now it's working. So what can you tell us about these attack changes? I mean, typically learns, plunders, and massacres have always benefited from a reduced attack time for as long as I can remember. What's the kind of goal behind that, or what was the thought process there?
Yeah, look, we went back and forth on this a little bit in the council. I think the main thing that FFW came up with in terms of a good idea was that while we reduced, obviously removing the timer, we have upped the cap of the total books for learn, so we've made it a lot more meaningful. And it's the same, we did reduce massacre a little bit, which some of the community I think will be happy about, some of the community won't be happy about, but we just felt that in the current age it was just too strong, and so that's why we've dropped it down a bit. We'll see how it goes this current age, and if we need to adjust it for next age we can. I think that's one of the things that we found in terms of the timers, but we'll see how it goes. It's kind of one of those things we'll test, see how it feels. But the gains cap has been lifted for, learns and plunders. So while, the reduction is there, we have actually lifted the potential for higher reward. But it's a bit more riskier, I guess, is what we could be saying.
Yeah, and I mean it certainly is, and I do like that increased gains cap for total books owned by the province. That's very interesting to me, and also the cap of 75% for all resources gained for plunders. That's for all resource target. That's pretty high. I mean, I like that. I really like.
Well, the reason why we introduced the gains cap on plunder is so that we will stop heavily gains-focused kingdoms from plundering every single resource down to 0 on a single province, which makes it impossible to react to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean,
especially in an age where we have no undeads, so that becomes a legitimate food strategy.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something I think everyone will need to think about for sure. With so many undeads that we've seen in the past couple of ages, I mean, I'm not saying I'm glad that it's gone, but or that it would be going, but I think everyone's just kind of just been using it as a crutch because it's so easy to play. What are your guys' thoughts on taking undead being removed from the game?
Want to go FFW?
Basically, we wanted to change the metagame a bit amongst all kingdom setups. Undead was overly popular in the past 2 ages, and we wanted to move away from a mitigation metagame into a more aggressive metagame.
I think also we were finding it, to be honest with you, such a nightmare to balance the last 2 ages with the race, and exactly what FFW was just saying. We just found that it was becoming such a dominant race choice, and we felt like, to be honest with you, that players probably wanted a break from it. So we just felt like that was the easiest way to do it for this age. I mean, from what we've seen in terms of the community, we haven't seen any, people really against the change at the moment anyway. So personally, I think it's a good move. So we'll see how we go.
But just to reiterate, they will be back. We're not removing it for good.
Yes.
We're just reworking it a bit. Give us time.
Yeah, so it's not only undead, but Dark Elf and Gnomes have been removed as well. Dark Elf and Gnomes is also, one of those races that kind of has historically gone in and out of service in Utopia. So I mean, it's not a huge surprise that they're gone. But let's read the little fluff here. In the forums, undead, dark elves, and gnomes have been removed. Undeads have been purified by New Year's blessings and will be retreating from Utopia for this age. Gnomes allied halflings and merged the fortunes of their race. Dark elves have made peace with their elven brothers and rejoined the elven race. So nice. We actually have some backstory behind it too now. That's kind of neat. Gives the Writers Guild something to work with. We got a lot of writers now, in case you guys didn't realize that, but we're going to be working on a lot of short stories and working kingdoms as well. Not directly referencing anyone necessarily, but anyone who is in that kingdom, you'll know that it's about you or your kingdom or something like that, or anyone who pays attention to history. So definitely keep an eye out. Some cool releases coming to Utopia with regards to that. There's going to be a lot of writing, that's for sure. Let's just check out the general changes again. Primary race now decides army statistics, including elites. Half-blood or true-blood choices will neither impact elite values nor army statistics. You will now receive different bonuses for half-blood and true-blood selections. True-blood choices will receive strong specialist complementary bonuses, while half-blood bonuses will give versatile bonuses that complements hybrid playstyles. It's a lot of bonuses in that sentences. Definitely sounds awesome. Warhorse is reduced to 2 and 0 base 0.6 net worth, and as we said, undead, dark elf, and gnome have been removed. Now moving on to the mechanics section here. Races primary pick determines the military units, racial bonus penalties, and spell list. Secondary pick gives either true blood bonuses, same pick, or Half-blood bonuses, different race pick. For example, picking avian as your primary race and dwarf as your secondary would result in having the following combined bonuses and penalties. So for anyone who's confused by that, how that works exactly, well, there's a little sample down there. And of course, this one's the most common one that's used, is the human trueblood. Now, how many of you guys out there love human truebloods, and who's going to be incorporating that into their war setup next stage?
I would say if you like to lose your first war, human trueblood's the way to go.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
go into a win mentality with human pure straight off the bat, because it ain't going to happen.
yeah, that wages and WPA is just brutal. I mean, I don't think you'd ever. I mean, you probably would be able to train and convert enough if you had a long enough out of protection war to make wages really something that would show up that early. But having that minus WPA literally means that anyone else, even if they have like 10 more wizards than you and they're a core attacker, they're most likely going to be able to land just about every spell they throw at you, which, when you're in the smaller sizes, it costs very few runes. I could easily see how they would be losing wars, because fireballs are pretty cheap and everyone's producing runes. Runes are easy to get. So,
well, when it's not really about the WPA, but more that they don't have any additional troops to start with. Everyone else got 800 additional military, and they've got 0.
Ah, very nice. Yeah, so yeah, I haven't really actually looked at the changes that closely yet, because I usually don't look at.
If you're playing human, you're playing it for the long run, not for the short term.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like perfect for any growth kingdom out there, or possibly a micro kingdom. I think everybody knows who I'm talking about there. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the other stuff here. Military attacking, defending. We already talked about learn attacks, plunder attacks, and massacres. Did anyone else want to say anything about the attack changes, or any of the other general changes up until now that we've looked at? I mean, everything's pretty straightforward. Nothing's overly complicated. That's the other thing I like about this age's changes, is they're pretty straightforward. There's no like massive long paragraphs explaining some mechanical change that makes it seem more complicated than it actually is. Everything's nice and laid out here, easy to read.
I mean, I think one of the things FFW and I would probably want to hear from an age council perspective, if anyone wants to put their hand up, is what they think in terms of the war declaration and the mechanics of that. It is something obviously new that we're considering implementing, that we've got in the proposed changes, and we are curious to hear from the community on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's a quick pull up here for the wars. Automatic win is now 60% net worth. End of war ceasefire. Book production bonus has been reduced to 25 instead of 50. End of war ceasefire now restores BE up to 100% for any province with less than 100% BE at the end of war. That's nice. War win points will now only change on conclusion of a war. Excellent. So no more points changing going into the war. War range is now 90 to 120%. Now the war declaration, that's what Benji was talking about. Aggressor kingdoms are now given the button if the following conditions are met. The aggressor kingdom has less war win points than the defending kingdom. The aggressor kingdom has accumulated at least 75 meter points. That's interesting. Seems like there'll be quite potentially a lot more wars coming up. Let's see if anyone's got their hands up here. Looks like Hong's trying to raise his hand, so I think let's try and get him back in here. Now that yeah, there you go, Hong.
I have a comment.
Absolutely.
For the race. So basically, I appreciate the changes. I mean, I can understand the general direction which we are going in. I think it's a fresh injection of life again. So, but I feel the pure-blooded feels a bit too strong. They are getting a lot more perks than the half-bloods. maybe we can introduce back the additional birth rates for the half-bloods like when we first introduced the half-bloods mechanic. Maybe not 50%, that maybe it was a bit too OP back then. Maybe 10-20%. Something to throw into the mix when you're deciding whether to go half-blood or pure-blooded.
Okay. Good idea.
I mean, yeah, look, I mean, we could look at it. It's something FFW and I could take back to the Age Council, and I'm sure you can comment on this too, FFW. I mean, one of the problems that, it's not so much a problem really, I think we found that when we introduced the race, that we weren't seeing really a lot of benefits for going pure bloods, what we would call now. And we were actually seeing more of the hybrids, which is not necessarily a bad thing, obviously, but we just felt like there wasn't enough there to really motivate players, you know, to just go the stack apart from human, obviously. But, you know, I'm not against that change. We just have to obviously think about it. I'm always hesitant about birth rate, personally, because it can be quite a strong mechanic if it's too strong, but as you said, you know, maybe we can have a lesser amount. It's something we can obviously look at.
Yeah, because right now, when we're discussing the proposed changes in our kingdom right now, everybody's looking at pure-blooded. It's so much better benefits. I mean, conversely, when we reintroduced the race mechanic, everybody was so insane about the 50% buff rate. So maybe a little bit balance on the pure-blood and half-blood, and you'll throw a lot more potential strategies, race strategies into the mix. A lot more discussions. Yep, that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you.
Was there something, Hong, you wanted to say?
I thought the call is for the to feature our kingdoms, some things, right? But now it's talk about the Utopia change, right, for the next age. I didn't really look into that for now. So one thing that I think we can have a improvement is probably the.
So what?
That's my 2 cents.
What it seems to be coming up is that the half-bloods are actually weaker than most of the pure bloods, and I think this has always been something that's happened or that people have felt in the past as well. I think just at looking at it, welcome Fox, by the way, just looking at it, I mean, on paper, right in your face, I mean, it seems like it's stronger. I definitely think end of age, mid-age, or end of age, it could very well be stronger, but I don't know. I need to look a bit closer at the perks right now while you guys are talking, just to see one way or the other. Fox, was there something you wanted to say? Maybe not. I guess he's just having some trouble with his microphone. Did you have something you wanted to say about pure blood versus the half breeds there, FFW? Are they actually stronger, or are they more balanced than they appear?
Some true blood bonuses are indeed a bit too strong, which the Age Council is working on balancing. But on a general perspective, if you would look close at half-blood bonuses, some of them are actually very strong in certain combinations. So what we will be doing is definitely looking into the other weaker half-blood combinations and balancing them to be a bit better.
Yeah, I mean,
I think also,
go ahead.
just going to say, Wind, I think also our thought process has always been to try and with the race to make True Blood really, quite beneficial. If you go something pure, you get some really strong buffs, but you also potentially have some weaknesses by not having those, half race options. But yeah.
Hi, this is Z. Hey. So, other than the pure blood or half blood options, something that I want to comment, which is on the massacre attack and also the reduction or the nerf in sabotage and explosive, right? Like, it seems like massacre is currently nerfed, and also the nerf to sabotage and explosive, and that seems to be buffing TMs, where TM is already pretty strong this age, right? And so I'm wondering if it's possible to not nerf Massacre as much, like, still have that reduction in attack time for Massacre, right? So people can plan around strategies to outsmart opponent with the traditional match, and also maybe not nerf Sabotage of exposed team as much, so TM is not as strong as this age. That's what I'm getting at from this exchange.
Hi, actually, I'd like to add on from Haley's point. I believe Massacre was nerfed twice in this sense, where first there's remove of the reduced timings and also reduced damage, so a double nerf. Because normally people, if they have access, offense, they can drop one Massacre in and add time for it. So basically, it's additional gains plus same time as a normal threat march. So basically, it feels like too big enough to Massacre in one go.
It's interesting, right? Because we were just joking in Age Council before FFW and I that were we too harsh on because we actually did make some nerfs to Elf, Fairy, and Halfling in their strength. But now the community is saying to us that maybe they're still too strong with the Massacre. Maybe we do need to relook at it potentially. It's something we can think about. Yeah.
I guess what Benji's trying to say is as pretty much we may have been a bit too heavy-handed towards Massacre, and we will think about it a bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
And just want to add on to, do you guys know what was the rationale behind removing Dark Elves? Is that because they are a hated race, or is it because they are too OP? Just want to hear the thoughts of the council here.
The removal of Dark Elves and Gnomes because their signature bonus happens to be spell damage and sabotage damage, which we are curtailing for this age to reduce TM operation damage. And we have moved most of those bonuses back to Elf and half a True Blood. So the sabotage and spell damage bonuses are in a more controlled, balanced environment. So you won't see 100% Vermin anymore, or 100% Fool's Gold, or 48-hour Riots.
Oh man, my favorite.
I agree with this. I think this age, especially paired with Gao, a lot of TM ops damage was off the charts.
We are basically moving the op damage back a bit so it doesn't go out of hand.
Yeah, I feel like
that sounds great.
Durations have been crazy.
But for the attackers meta, it feels like, from my understanding, the attackers relies mainly on these three: attacking strength, speed, and sustainability. By removing undead, now attackers are only focusing on pure damage and speed. I probably can see that everybody's gonna stack huge either Orcs or Avians as its two main categories, and it's gonna be a very fast and quick wars in the coming age if there's no sustain at all. Is this the direction where we want to move towards to? As in very quick wars, minimal sustain, and hopefully end the war before 4 days.
Look, Avian, obviously, yep, speed, and Orc gains and kills. But I think from our perspective, we definitely saw advantages with Dryad and Human, in their own ways. We felt like at the moment, all four were quite playable. As FFW did say, we are still looking at a few slight changes in the revise for these. But I wouldn't necessarily, in our opinion, say that those two are the dominant. Each can be played in their own way by a good kingdom and setup. I guess it also down to what you want to do, and how you want to set yourselves up as a kingdom for your wars.
Yeah, and that's I think that that this pure blood and half blood thing It gives you a lot more variety. I mean, I was kind of happy when it first came out because I felt like there's a lot more options available on the table, not just for like your own individual picks, but also for your kingdom-wide strategy or build as well. Um, the amount of options now I feel like is much more significant than it used to be before. So I think it's brought new life to the game. Definitely something I think people have been asking for some time, and it's great to see these changes. I mean, I'm certainly happy with the mechanical changes that I'm seeing. Not super excited about those reduced attack times. However, the in some cases, I think it's enhanced damage is nice. I do like doing my massacres in between my trad marches and still beating the enemy home in both instances. I guess if you run a speedier army, you can still get around, losing that reduction time, but that kind of limits you to, what races you're going to play. Just off the top here, we're just going to check out some of the True Blood and Half Blood bonuses. Avian, for instance, True Blood gets access to War Spoils, +1 General. Half Bloods get -10% attack time, +20% birth rate. So there you go. You see that birth rate increase is actually on the Avian Half Blood bonus list. Accurate Espionage. Avian always a primary, attacking choice. What do you guys think about the True Blood bonuses, Half Blood bonuses for Avian? Is that something everyone's going to want to pick? I know I do. +1 General, minus attack time, birth rate, accurate espionage. That's a gold mine right there.
I got something to put on the table for discussions. Is this, we take out the undead, right? The most important element of the undead is the plague. So now, who's carrying the plague in the game? Yeah? Because this is like something very good wild card, to really break
There is
someone
no
when
plague.
yeah, now the plague is gone. So the balance of the game is like being disrupted. Yeah, maybe we should bring that. We don't bring back the undead is fine, but just bring back the plague. Yeah.
I think it just means there's more importance on chastity going forward for kingdoms.
Yeah, we should.
But I understand where you're coming from in terms of plague was the other mechanic. But
Yes.
we're not saying no. Maybe just for this age, we'll see how we go, and then we'll try to look to undead over this age to see what we can do for next age.
Because the undead plague, right, is really give the elements of surprise for the any strategy that you guys implementing. Yeah, it can disrupt the strategy. It's such a good wild card. Yeah, that we can rely on sometimes, but not really. But you need to plan something contingency just to counter the plague. Yeah. Yeah, I believe all the TM or anybody that is not undead getting hit and then plague, it creates some kind of psychology damage to the persons, to the province, until they clear the plague. Yeah. So without this gone, then forever the TM will be fail very easy, and then the attacker is feeling do not have the joy of partying, right? When one province get plagued and everybody jump on it. We will lost this element. Just think about it. Should we bring back the plague just for this purpose? Yeah, it's bring the joys to the attacker, like myself. Yeah.
I can certainly associate with that. Being a core attacker myself, as preference for province, I definitely appreciate anything that gives attackers a little bit more firepower. It's always good. Always good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Avian looks like a good choice. I mean, +1 General, if you go True Blood, there's your extra ambush or something right there. Half Blood even, I mean, that's a great Half Blood bonus. Minus attack time, birth rate, and accurate espionage. Dryad, on the other hand, True Blood bonus is -1 mana cost on self spells, so there's your kind of, support caster there. Access to Fanaticism and Hero's Inspiration, always nice. Minus to Sabotage and instant spell damage received. Yeah, that's a nice little perk there. On the Half-Blood side, can cast support spells on Kingdom members. Access to Greater Protection, Illuminate Shadows, Divine Shield, -10% casualties. Dwarf, you got True Blood is a +10. Well, it's getting a little technical here. +20% defensive WPA, -10% instant spell damage received, free construction and raise. That's pretty epic. -25% construction time for the Half-Blood bonus on Dwarf, +15% BE and access to Mist. Ooh, Mist is back for the dwarves. Elf bonuses for the elf now. The True Blood side, +25% spell duration. Oh yeah. +20% instant spell damage and +1 mana recovery. Wow, I can definitely see quite a few True Blood elves being around this age.
Just gonna say wind. And one of the things that we were trying to point out before, like we thought, in our opinion, I mean, we're still obviously curious to hear what the community is saying about this, that the Half-Blood bonuses were quite strong if you look at them. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just yeah, you know what? There's the sheet there. I'll just show it on the screen for anyone who's looking at the stream. You got the avian bonuses down here, the dryad bonuses right there. Dwarf is here. We were just talking about elf. The elf, so the Half-Blood bonuses for elf, +15% WPA. That's always nice, and +50% guild effectiveness. Wow, that kind of effectiveness belongs in Genesis, but we'll see what happens if it's in the final changes or not. Definitely, I can definitely see how the Half-Blood bonuses seem to be, a little bit stronger. That's for sure. But again, the True Blood bonus for elf. This one's kind of 50-50. I don't know. I think this one would definitely help you out earlier on as a Half-Blood, but later on, it's half and half. It's pretty balanced actually for that one. Looking at the fairy side of things, True Blood bonuses, +10% arcane book production, access to Mage's Fury, +10% sabotage damage, and -50% thievery losses. Oh, that's nice. Total 75%. That's pretty sweet, actually. Fairy is kind of set up to be kind of like a rogue, or like a real mage thief, as opposed to, I think before everyone was really using, like in the past, Fairy was like your typical mystic that you would run. Instead, Fairy's kind of transitioned to this almost like a heretic, I would say, with what's going on here. But the Half-Blood bonus is access to nightmares. Oh, there you go, heretic. Access to nightmares, fool's gold, and vermin, +25% wizard production. Yes. -25% thievery losses and -25% wizard losses. That's pretty sweet. As always, Fairy's looking pretty good. Now on to my halfling. See what the halfling gets. 100% thieves den effectiveness, +1 stealth recovery, +10% population. Oh, they got all those gnome bonuses. Train thieves with specialist credits. Yes, please. Wow, that's amazing. I would love to play a rogue next stage. Probably not going to happen though. I'd rather play core. Half-Blood bonuses on the other hand, +20% TPA, +25% thieves den's effectiveness. Wow. Access to quick feet and invisibility, access to propaganda, assassinate wizards, steal war horses, and greater arson. All my favorite ops. Human, everyone's favorite. True Blood bonuses, immune to all income penalties, +25% library effectiveness, +25% university effectiveness, +25% banks effectiveness. This is just like a ceasefire pumping machine, this thing right here. Half-Blood side, they get that 20% income bonus that human normally sees, an income bonus anyway. So it's definitely something I think, we'll see a lot of people playing. Maybe not necessarily Warring Kingdoms, but when human True Blood shows up, it seems like a lot of people always want to play. Now down to my favorite, Orc. Doesn't seem like Orc's getting very much here. True Blood bonuses for Orc are free draft and access to Bloodlust. I do like those things. Free draft is pretty good. I've got to say that is like, draft can be very expensive, especially when you don't have much econ, but you have peasants and you can still draft them. That's amazing. On the Half-Blood size, +10% enemy casualties. Oh, that's pretty sweet already. +10% combat gains and minus to training time. Yeah, I mean it does. I think it does maybe at first glance seem like the Half-Blood or True Blood bonuses may be more powerful or one is more powerful than the other, but I feel like they are actually somewhat more balanced than they appear. For someone would really have to rack their brain to identify those few combinations that FFW or SAPS was saying before would be very overpowered. And again, you'd have to use them correctly as well too. I mean, it's very easy to incorrectly play a province and not take full advantage of the bonuses that are given to you on it. Aside from those changes, let's just take a look here closer to the bottom. What else do we have here? Support spell lists, minor protection, greater protection, fertile lands, magic shield, nature's blessing, love and peace, builder's boon, inspire army heroes, inspiration, patriotism, illuminate shadows, wrathful smite, divine shield, and fanaticism. So those are your support spell lists for the age. And again, there is no more plague, as we spoke about earlier, but the undead, I'm sure, as FFW said, will be back. They're not gone forever. Is there any combinations here that stand out to anyone currently in the chat room or in the audience that they want to talk about? I know we already talked about Pure Blood Human very briefly and how it's a late age thing that would probably lose that would probably lose an out of protection war. Sorry, just checking a message there. Yeah, so on to rituals. However, it looks like some things have been changed. Benediction, as I said before, has been removed. Expedient seems to be more or less the same. Affluent seems unchanged. Havoc increases offensive. That seems unchanged. Barrier, minus 20%. Receive spell damage and sabotage damage. Stalwart increases defensive military efficiency by 10% and decreases military losses by 20%. Expropriation and increase enemy casualties on your offensive attacks by 20%. Was that always there before? I can't remember. Godspeed, onslaught. Benji, since you're here, what changes besides benediction being removed were actually made? Because it seems like all this stuff is the same as before or very close to it. Is it just a percentage that was changed, or?
We've made some slight changes. FW knows off the top of my head better than me probably, but we did change Onslaught, Godspeed, and Expo, I think. Same kind of approach a little bit in terms of what they are, but we did change some of the work in it. Onslaught obviously has got that wage reduction now, and really focusing on the OME rather than the kills. But we've put the kills actually onto Expo, so that's been shifted from Onslaught.
Yes.
And Godspeed, we've still got the attack time reduction, but we've actually put gains onto it now. So we've just subtle, but we have moved things around a little bit around there. That it's probably worth people having a look at that, because it will kind of change people's thought process going into wars and outside of wars with the rituals.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, you really have to read closely because everyone's so used to seeing the same old rituals all the time. As I said, I was looking at it very briefly, and it didn't really seem like much had changed around. But for instance, the military wages and the extra kills being taken off of Onslaught. I mean, that's a ritual I normally use all the time. That should have been the first thing that I saw. So let's take a look here. Otherwise, outside of rituals, looks like there was some caps to TMs and stuff, as we've been talking about earlier. Insight Riots duration capped, introduced at 18. Honor, Thievery, honor gain minus 15% except for propaganda, assassinate wizards, and greater arson. Sabotage wizards damage reduced by 25% and made only available in war. So no more hostile sabotaging wizards. Now on the magic side, fireball damage has been reduced by 10%. No, my favorite spell. Expose thieves, damage reduced by 25% and only available in war, so no more hostile exposing thieves or anything outside of war. That's interesting. Nightmare moved to war only, so it definitely seems like we're trying to get everyone more into a war mode. I definitely appreciate that. Relations, forced ceasefire for aggressors can now be used after.
Alright, just to clarify the changes to ETSW and Nightmare. the reason why we moved it to war only is because of the aggressive button. We don't want aggressors just being able to instantly remove all your stealth and mana and nightmare you right on the declare, but we are going to change things a bit, because originally our aggressive button was a little different. So some of these changes will need to be adjusted further.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, these are only the proposed changes, so but I definitely think it's some good changes, and I hope to see more wars out of this for sure.
So this is it again. Can we circle back to the races again? Just wanted to, point out some of the analysis that I have done. So if you just look at the races, right, I think currently, if you look at tier S races, I'm looking at double dwarfs, right? That free construction and race is pretty imbar, in my opinion. And also the minus 50% construction time as well. So I think that's probably tier S. And then if you look at another tier S, I would think is double elf, right? 25% spell duration, and 20% instant damage as well. So that is something is also pretty imbar, in my opinion. And what else I'm looking at is probably like you were talking about half blood bonus, and I think Avian half blood bonus is pretty good, right? With that 20% birth rate and 10% at a time, which reduce the need of rest, right? Free up, buildings for other purposes. And I think the tier trash will be double movements, because you guys are going to lose the first war, and without war bonuses, you're just going to be a trash for the whole age. So I just feel like human needs to be buffed more, or it's going to be in the dump, right? Might as well just get purified by the new year, or or maybe we can change to undead and a human having an actual war, and both of them got destroyed in their wars or something like that. And then another thing that I want to talk about is the Witcher part as well. Is that if we look at the Witcher, why do you notice is a huge difference? Is first the barrier part, right? It seems like there's a removal of the increase in defensive TPA, WPA, whereas Havoc, still have that increase in 30%, which kind of favor TM in my opinion. So it seems like it's going to be a TMH again, right? Because if you think about it, right, propaganda is going to still be very OP as well, even with 20% reduction. So actually, no, it doesn't even reduce cavalry damage. If that makes sense to you. And then for Stalwart as well, right, like decrease military losses by 20%. I feel that maybe we should still bring back the 10% gain as well. So it can help increase the strategies that players can play in the game. I mean, that's just my 2 thoughts. Feel free to comment.
Absolutely. Does anyone else have anything to say about the races that have whether or not you think pureblood is a bit too strong, or the half breeds are a bit too strong? Any combinations that stand out? Maybe something that not necessarily you want to pick, but you want to point out. And of course, this is all subject to changes. As FFW has already pointed out, there are a number of races that are under review right now. So it's not likely that everything that's here right now will be what the final changes are. And FFW has promised a nice expedited timeline, as I said before, to give everyone, especially the newer kingdoms, more time to pick. Is that something we can expect going forward, Saps, that proposed changes will be out this early, final changes will be out before the age ends? I know we had a brief conversation about it, but is that going to be a common thing going forward?
That is the intent, as long as I still play. I can't promise what happens if I decide to retire.
We need to make it a policy in the Age Changes Council that that's when things need to be released then, so there's no question about it.
Hi, sorry, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, absolutely. Twisting. Did you have something you want to say?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to get my microphone to work. I mean, I think my opinion on the rituals in general is that I think I appreciate the change. I mean, it was getting me too stale as well. Everybody having a standard barrier for end of age and standard onslaught for beginning of age. Uh, I think for the havoc and barrier situation is that even at late age currently, even if you run havoc against barrier, it's very difficult for havoc to win. So it's a very interesting design choice to just say spell will succeed, but against barrier you have lower ops gain. So that in a sense already can turn off propaganda runs in late age, even though your success is 80%, but your gains is 10 teeth per op due to the reduction of gains. So interesting dynamic. I want to see how it pans out late age, and I do appreciate the changes to it as well. It being very very defensive, where it gives you your DME but also reduce losses. So it's really a very good defensive withdrawal in that sense. So next thing is I like to comment on the race thing as well. I personally.
Oh no, we just lost you.
We just lost him for a second.
We lost Twisting again.
Oh, sorry, hi. I had to change my setting to push to talk because my Discord is having issues. So yeah, for the race, I think I wanted to go Dwarf because it seems OP, but again, it's the jack of all trades. It doesn't have speed, it doesn't have increased attack, it doesn't have sustain, it doesn't have basically anything but BE and for you to switch your buildings at any times. But I would say it's going to favor Orc and Avian meta in this case because of the speed and the killing power these races can bring to the table.
I think to your point, you kind of just nailed it on the head there. Twisting is that, and that's what we were thinking about. Like when you look at Dwarf, yes, it has some really strong, benefits when you look at it on paper and when you go True Blood, but yes, it loses speed, loses gains, loses kills. So we've tried to offset that, by giving each race very meaningful things, but you're playing a certain role when you play that race. So that's kind of been our thought process with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell. I mean, all the races and personalities have kind of been segmented in types of attackers, types of TMs, types of hybrids. I think there's like 7 different types of attackers, and you can kind of see it in all the races here. What type of role you're expected to play. I mean, you can look at it. I mean, just looking at it closely, I'll do it right now. Avian, is more or less your speed attacker here, or gives you an extra general if you go True Blood. Dryad is your support caster. Not much else to say there. I mean, they're kind of cleric-y as well, but there's no plague or anything like that to defend against, so that doesn't really matter. Dwarf is like your all-around kick butt, kind of turtley, can do anything kind of race, but not overly powerful. Elf, here's your caster, pure wizard type role. Fairy seems to be like your true thief mage here. Halfling, your rogue. Human, I don't know what the heck human's supposed to be. Some kind of turtley, science-y nerd province that doesn't go to war or something. I don't know. Then of course the most badass race in the game, Orc, your heavy attacker. Orc's the best, by the way, guys. Just telling you now. But go ahead and play human all you want. Don't listen to me.
I am curious, however, we have talked a lot about bonuses. What does the community think about the penalties on each race?
Yeah, and I mean, let's go over it quickly now, because we were just looking at the benefits here. I'll just go down the list quickly. Avian, no access to stables or war horses. I mean, that's a common thing. Birds can fly. They don't need to ride horses. They no, that's it actually for them, and it just goes into the spell book. Okay, and then for Dryad, minus 10% building efficiency. That's kind of hurts a little bit. For Dwarf, no accelerated construction and plus 50% food consumption. So again, that food thing's coming back. You know, if you could just plunder, it would be really easy. Or rather, if you could plunder up to 100% of the resources, it would be easy to starve people. In this, you know, in this one, especially dwarves. I guess that's the one thing you have to watch out for if you do pick dwarf. That extra food consumption, no accelerated construction. That's not really a huge deal. You can work around that easily, especially with 4-day ceasefires that we have. Elf, minus 15% sabotage damage, no access to dungeons. You know what? That's perfect for Elf. That's so inconsequential for the most part. I know people like to play Elf hybrid type roles where they're attacking and doing something else, but really you could easily play around this minus 15% sabotage damage, no access to dungeons. Again, if you're just playing role as you know, a caster mage type province, you're not even going to be affected by those penalties anyway. So I guess, you know, the penalties seem like they're kind of pushing you more towards a specific role. In that case, fairies minus 10% income, which is kind of I guess that offsets their tree of gold a little bit. But they're kind of like a true thief mage province, so they can steal as much gold as they want. So minus the income for them, I mean, it's not really a huge deal. It just means they might have to work a little bit harder. You know, 1 or 2 more button clicks maybe. Halfling, no access to hospitals and plus to 15% spell rune cost. I mean, that's kind of inconsequential to halfling again because I mean, there's no plague, so you don't really need hospitals as much, I would say, simply for that. But also, you know, hospitals do great in, you know, reducing your losses as well. But you can easily do that with science. Again, halfling's going to be more of your rogue type province. It's not really going to be attacking necessarily anyway. So that penalty is kind of, I don't know if that really is going to impact anyone's game. Plus the plus 15% spell rune cost. Again, quick feet. I mean, you're going to be casting Invisibility Revelation all the time. Again, you're a halfling rogue. You could do one grab on an op and get all the runes you need. You know, it seems like the penalties are kind of weak. Human seems to have like one of the worst ones actually. Minus 20% WPA and plus 20% wages. That's going to hurt them late game for sure. I think human probably has the worst penalties, except for orc, minus 15% science effectiveness. Not super excited about that. But again, you know, you get free drafts. I'd still say human. I think human probably has the worst one next to orc. Other than that, the penalties seem pretty soft. You know, they're not too heavy duty. So definitely nothing for anyone to complain about. You know, third would be the minus to building efficiency that Dryad has. I would say, in my opinion, those are the top 3 that hurt, penalties that hurt the most. The others are kind of easily played around, I guess I would say.
Yes. Great.
Does anyone else want to comment about the penalties currently here? I mean, like I said, they seem pretty soft, so I don't think anyone's gonna have too much trouble working around that. And even for me, if I play orc, pureblood orc or something, I'm really, that science thing is not gonna bother me too much. I mean, science, yeah, it's great to have, but you know, all I have to say is steal more books, learn more, and you'll just have more books. Your effectiveness will still be a percentage base, but you'll still have, you know, higher numbers. You just have to be more active, is what I'm saying. I guess do more learns if you're gonna play orc and you want to offset that, you know, that science effectiveness somewhat. But I mean, again, 15% is kind of meh. Like, I wouldn't even notice that necessarily. I mean, if you're really crunching the numbers and you have everything on paper, yeah, you're gonna see it. But at the end of the day, you know, it definitely wouldn't affect my core attacker game necessarily, just that penalty. So yeah, to answer your question, FFW, I think the penalties, I don't want to say they should be adjusted to make them more like hard or crappier penalties, but you could definitely, you know, make the penalties a little bit more penalizing for some races. Like, you know, hit elf where it hurts. You know, like give them like a reduction to like their spell damage or something like that. No, that
And
would
the
be-
other thing that people, I don't know if necessarily have realised, we did remove Revelation from both Elf and Halfling. So that'll be a bit of a science difference for people.
There's also a note here. Guard stations no longer protect science books from learn attacks. Remember that. I'll be coming for your books. Pure Blood Orc. Alright, and anyone else? I think there was another thing I really need to point out here is when it comes to the Explore Pool. Again, I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. Explore Pool growth is now 6 acres per tick instead of 3, so you get more pool. Double the pool, actually. Explorer Pool Decay is now 0.45 a tick instead of 0.15, so you're going to be losing that pool faster. Aiding Acres now loses 2/3 instead of 1/2. Oh man, it's already complicated enough aiding out acres when it was a half. People always forget to do the math on that one. But now it's going to be 2/3. Oh man, that's going to be so much work. No one's getting my acres this age. What's this? The universities now protect science books from learn attacks at the rate of 1.5% base effect. Okay. So you could run your universities, oh, people are going to be running universities all age. Existing book production bonus and scientist spawn rate increases remains the same and unaffected by BE. Watchtowers, effective preventing enemy thief operations base effect is down to 1.25% with a max effect of 31.25. Watchtowers still mitigate sabotage damage by up to 75%. Wow. Yes, I mean, Watchtowers are still solid. No real serious things changing there. But did anyone actually, let's look at the dragons. Dragon effect in general. First tick burns has been moved to the start from the second tick. Amethyst permanent reduction effect every 6 ticks has been removed. Effect adjusted to minus 15% science effect. Yeah, I mean, an emerald against a kingdom of all orc attackers. Or amethyst, sorry, late game would definitely, I think I'd notice that 30%, not the 15%, but that would be a hurtful stack for sure. Was there anything that changed that we didn't cover, Benji, that I need to point out, or have we kind of touched on everything so far? I don't think we really heard from anybody. No one really had any comments about wars or war declaration, you know, in terms of aggressors, kingdoms with less war points, or aggressor kingdom has accumulated at least 75 meter points to get the button. Did anyone have any feedback with regards to those mechanical changes?
I think my friend Hong or my teammate Hong might have some comments. Hong, do you have any comments? Or is he muted? Oh, he has. Okay.
Oh, no. You mean about the war one, is it?
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
Yeah. For the aggressors, yeah. How many points that we should in hostile is 30 point, right? I mean hostile, yeah, it's 30 point. I think that is still fine because we have our own unique way of to get the under unfriendly. So that is still fine for me. Yeah. Do not have any things to comment on that, yeah.
I just want
I
to
think you
say
covered
that,
everything that was in there too, Wind.
Alright, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to point out as well, Twisting just messaged me saying his mic died again. He also wanted to point out that the Fey penalties might be a little too low as well, and he suggests a 5% pop bonus penalty as their elites are 13 points. They can get UB very quickly. So essentially, as I was saying before, you know, some of the races definitely seem like they're getting an easy ride with the penalties that were assigned to them. And Fairy has before in the past gotten population bonus penalties as well. I think that's a more common penalty for Fairy, I would say.
So I have a quick question. Like, if you look at the explore pool, so why is it 6 acres per tick now instead of, what is the rationale behind it, right? Like, are we encouraging more land hoarding, or like, just want to know what's going on? Like,
There's a few,
yeah.
there's a few things on the explore pool change. So one, we want acre recovery for chain provinces to be higher, but at the same time we increase the decay in order to reduce the maximum pool available. And when we increase the tax for acres, what we're effectively saying is you can't bank very well. So you can't launch 10k banks very easily next age anymore. And those who prefer to explore would have to dedicate a lot more time and effort to explore rather than just stock up pool to 1000 and then explore, which makes it a lot easier to maintain a land lead. So these explore pool changes would make it more difficult to maintain a land lead as opposed to this age.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with that 2 to 3 versus the half acres lost when you're eating out acres. So when you are launching that province, as they said, typically everyone in the kingdom aids their acres to that one province, and then that one province explores with all the resources available, and they continuously do that throughout the age. Now, it's definitely going to make it harder, that's for sure. Did you want to say something, Gohan?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're a good man.
Okay. I kind of missed out on the massacre talk and why we kind of nerfed that so much. I kind of missed out on that.
The main takeaway from the attack time thing was basically that they're not going to have that time reduction anymore. However, for the massacre in war damage, that's the key part of it. In war damage is now reduced by 25%. So that's really the only change. Besides losing the time.
No, I've never looked into it, but does GBP affect massacres as well currently?
Oh, absolutely.
So, okay. I didn't know if maybe instead of like taking away the time, the reduced time, and the damage in war, maybe you could increase for, say because really where it hurts is multiple massacres, and in my opinion anyway, and if I just think you should increase, say, or decrease the damage on massacres for multiple massacres. So basically increasing the GBP, like pushing it to extreme immediately after one massacre.
Yeah, right. In war, GBP is doesn't affect, like, isn't as noticeable. It's when you're out of war. Yeah, right. That is more but noticeable. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, in war. Yeah, so they have. I mean, the damage was reduced by 25%. So, it definitely seems like we're headed in that direction. However, if someone has the opportunity to send a bunch of massacres at you, they're probably still going to be able to do it like next age anyway. But it won't be as effective. So I think maybe they're just going to reduce the the chance that it's going to happen because of that increased reduction, that people will be less inclined to do it. However, massacres have been very popular, that's for sure. I mean, that's definitely a great way to reduce the overall TPA WPA in the province. And we have seen a lot of them. I mean, a lot of the top or upper kingdoms have been using a lot more massacres. I mean, I've been getting a lot of war data this age and last, where people have specifically been pointing out all their massacre damage. I mean, we're talking like 200 to 400,000 kills, and that's mid-age. So I mean, let's just reduce that number by 25%. That's pretty substantial. So that's like
So that
100,000.
25% is overall. I mean, because you know how a masker breaks down. It's like I forget the exact breakdown. It's 25% of those percentages.
Yeah, 25. Yeah, like it's reduced by a quarter, essentially, for each of those.
Okay, that's kind of the only question I have. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Did anyone else have any other questions with regards to the mechanics or races or anything they wanted to share with the members of the Age Changes Council? Thoughts, comments, suggestions?
Hong here. So I just read through the changes, right? One of the things, the war with decorations, this is something new, right? The
Yeah,
aggressor
it is.
kingdom can got the button, right? And then as long as their war win point is lesser, meaning that potential that this kingdom may be growing from the early age to the mid age, right? There could be the world number one's lands, right? And then they can just choose any war kingdom that just not in very prepared modes. Then they just full wave in, then they get 75. Then definitely they can declare, right? Is it this will have something like will create more dramas in the Utopia? I'm not sure.
You still have to follow the war range, which is 90 to 120%.
Yeah.
Okay. Then okay, and
We're
then
also assuming.
and then that's mean that all the warring kingdom out there, right? They have to be prepared all the times. Means they may not have the chance to even go into like 1 week's 3 days to 1 week's 2 weeks pumps anymore, because anytime this kingdom wave in, right, they have to chase the wheel immediately. Maybe the double dwarf is become a sensation here because they don't need to halt any goals to convert and ready to war anytime.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the mechanic
There
change
is-
because of that. Yeah.
There is also the alternative of sending ceasefires and negotiating ceasefire periods with other kingdoms. So that has not gone away.
True, but I think it might be the next age, right? Talk, I mean, negotiation is about talk, right? It will be lesser, but more action means I will straight wave you first, then later we talk.
I guess that the other thing there is that, you know, we're coming from the perspective, Hong, of like, you know, if somebody does have less war win points and they want to challenge somebody that has been, you know, warring more and done well, you know, we want to give them that opportunity so that they don't have to go through that process of trying to do Diplo and all that side of things, you know. So, I mean, there's pros and cons, and this is why we want to test it in the age and see how it runs.
One of the things we're trying to avoid is a repeat of Age 84, where the number one war win at the time just refused to war anybody and sat number one for 2 weeks. And there's nothing anyone can do about it.
That's true. Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
It's good. The changes is very balanced then. It's giving everybody equal opportunity.
Yeah, a lot more chances to war up, that's for sure.
And definitely to your point, Hong, you know, I think people will have to be a lot more prepared going into this age. There'll be probably a lot less pumping, and you know, people have to be prepared to respond very quickly.
Yeah.
So I just want to end. I know it's getting late for everyone, but you know, one of the comments that my people have made, all my friends and teammates have talked about, is that I wonder if there will be some kind of like guides for newbies, or you know, like, oh, these are the things that maybe you can try, this and that. What are the advantages and disadvantages? Like a guide, like a, you know, guide 101 for new players to join, so it's easier for new people to pick up the games, you know, so we can increase the pool of people playing Utopia, which I think is a very fun game, right? Just want to hear the thoughts of people here.
One, yeah.
Or what do you guys think? Win or any other, you know, Utopian admin? Yeah. I mean, not everyone. Yeah, go ahead. I just want to say, not everyone is like tier 1, right? You know,
no, definitely.
Tier 2,
I think
tier 3 kingdoms, like, you know, like us, whatever.
I mean,
yeah.
I would love for more players to be able to learn the game more accessibly, definitely. It's probably more of a more broader discussion in a different cast, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I think we definitely have to think about that as a community, how we can educate people more and think about that. I think that I personally think there's some opportunities in mentorship that we need to be thinking about a bit more from a kingdom perspective. And incentivizing, veteran players to be able to teach, kingdoms that are smaller on those little things. But on how we do that, and I'm just thinking out in the sky ideas right now. Hey, but yeah, I'm definitely for that. Yeah. But I think you also have to remember, I mean, it's not news to people that, there's a lot of investment in this game for leaders that are leading kingdoms and doing a lot of that setup and time that's put into it. So I think we'll probably have to think about that a bit more longer term. But yeah, I'm for the idea of anything that in terms of obviously increasing and maintaining player base, because it is a high skill cap, I personally believe, for players coming into this brand new. And I think that's where we need to think about what we can do there. Yeah.
Addition to that, Benji, right? Like the attack feature, right? What I know from the past is we have to do a very calculations, but now it's just button click, right? So it's much more easier. So this is the feature that actually can help the new player go into this community, the games, right? We need to invest more to develop this kind of features, yeah. So it will help the new person or new players into the games, yeah. Try to ease conveniency. I mean, yeah.
I think we're definitely for things that are quality of life improvements that make it easier for the player. But there's also that fine line where we don't want to make it we want to make sure that what you're doing is meaningful and they understand it. There's balance, but I definitely agree about that attack type of things. That those are the sort of things that we want to think about.
Yeah, we can definitely improve that feature. I mean, through the increase the feature through the programming, all those things. Yeah, it can help a lot. I think it's mean everything for the new player, because they also devastated when they fails the attack that they didn't really understand. Of course, the kingdom mates have to help them. Yeah, but some time to times, if the mechanics of the games can help them firsthand, then the kingdom mates will be just a support, and that will be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, that's something that we're currently working on as well. I mean, everyone's well aware of the progress we've made on the apps thus far. The app hopefully will improve everyone's quality of life for the game, for mobile users especially. Obviously that's its primary intent. However, there are going to be many more quality of life updates coming to the game itself, including the Intel site, the Intel bot. Everything is being looked at, is going to be reworked, possibly even completely rewritten. So there's a lot of exciting things coming in the next few ages, that's for sure. Definitely stay tuned. It's definitely not the time to leave the game, that's for sure. It's definitely the time to tell your friends about the game. As I said, there's going to be a lot of awesome stuff that I wish I could talk to you guys about, show you more of right now. But I don't want to overpromise, overcommit, and have a bunch of people asking me and me just saying soon all the time. Because again, remember, everyone is working for free. They're all volunteers. No one's being paid, but we are coming up with some amazing stuff. So definitely keep your eyes and ears open. We're working closely with Muga, mostly David C, to get these changes and upgrades to the game implemented. As I said, there's going to be some great things coming, and probably sooner than later. I mean, to be honest, with the pace that we're moving at, it's going very well. It's very likely that beta testing for the app will start sooner than everybody thinks. So we hope to get more users on board once that's more ironed out. There's still a few things that we need to do to get that mobilized for everyone, but I have to say it looks fantastic.
Yeah, quick question on the Declare again. I was just reading it again. So the defending kingdom, do they have to give relations for the aggressor to button, like unfriendly?
I think that's the best part. Either they have to, either they have to cease fire or force a ceasefire, or uh, they, the aggressor kingdom, could actually get the button and declare. The defending kingdom would have no way to stop it, really.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
like say I have less war score in my kingdom, and I wave you, and you don't do any hostile relations, like you don't return anything, and you hit 75 points. You can just button them then.
Then you button. Yeah, but the downside to that, I guess, is that you know full well that the defending kingdom's going to get a full wave in war on you.
Okay.
That means extra gains and stuff for them. So, and a faster return time. So I mean, it's
a bit more
double-edged sword. That's for sure.
Yeah, risk
Right.
reward, as Wayne was just saying. Go on, is what we're thinking of. But yeah, I think
That's
you
great, actually. Yeah.
go into this age and don't be going into it thinking that you're safe.
Yes.
You need
that's
to
actually
really think
great.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's
We
probably
are looking
one of the best.
into the dragon abuse because 75 meter points is actually very low if you include the dragon. So what we are looking into is the actual points required for aggressive button. Because we can't have someone just sending 3 dragons from end of war ceasefire just to get an aggressive button.
Yeah.
So yes, we are
exactly.
looking into that. So we are trying to minimize as much abuse as possible because some kingdoms tend to abuse bugs.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Anyway, that's a topic for another discussion. But anyway, did anyone else have any final comments or anything they wanted to share with the Age Changes Council? It is getting pretty late for some people, or it's getting close to lunchtime for others. I think it's the middle of the night still for our friends in Europe. So anyone who's there joining us from Europe, I hope you're enjoying the cast. But I think it might be time to shut this down because we've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes so far. So I'm going to open up the floor to the audience. If anyone has any questions, comments, or would like to share anything, feel free to raise your hand and I'll get you into the talking position where you can talk to either FFW or Benji.
I was gonna say I'd be really keen to hear by the other 19 players here what they think in general about probably the penalties and the race changes overall, given the time that we have left.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's that's one of the most important things every age. I think a lot of people are always complaining. I see that the changes are too mild or too bland, but at the same time, very few people are actually giving meaningful feedback or suggesting something that would actually be feasible. So I think it's just people bitching and moaning most of the time. But like I said, and like Benji asked, if anyone wants to ask any questions or has any feedback, now is the time. Besides that, Benji or FFW, did you have anything you wanted to share with the community about the changes or timeline or just any other tidbits at all that you might want to share this time?
We aim to have the revised changes out probably Tuesday, and the final changes will probably come on Friday, so it will be a bit before end of age. This is to give everyone an equal opportunity to debate it over the weekend with your own kingdom mates, so nobody has to rush into a decision on Monday morning.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's super awesome, and that means finals are going to be out really soon in comparison to other ages as well too, so that's something that everyone can look forward to. As I said before, I hate having to figure out what you're doing on a Monday afternoon, let's say. Again, usually one of the busiest days at work, so doesn't seem like anyone else has any comments or questions. But of course, guys, if you have any comments or questions or you want to give some feedback, you can always message Benji or FFW or talk in the Age Changes discussion. That's probably more preferable if you keep everything in there, just so that we can all have it in one place and Hex can review it all and try to make his balances and checks as he does all the time. But anyway, thanks to everyone for joining me, so FFW, Benji, especially the two of you from the Age Changes Council, and of course everyone else in the audience, Hong, Gohan, thanks for joining, and of course Twisting, and everyone else who had a role in speaking earlier. He also was here speaking, but I guess he had to go. So thanks everyone for joining, and be sure to watch all the future casts, of course, like everything, and reach out to the Age Changes Council if you guys think you have something, or again, like I said, just participate in the Age Changes discussion, you know, in the Muga server here. So thanks so much everyone for joining. This is your host, Wind, signing off.